Hi guys, it's Sandeep from Fonearena, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at one of the most interesting devices that we have seen in 2016 or possibly even the last couple of years, which is the Xiaomi Mi Mix, which was announced just yesterday alongside the Mi Note 2. Now the Mi Mix is a smartphone that features a really high screen to body ratio, an unprecedented amount of 91.3%. Now while the concept of having really small bezels is nothing new, I mean Samsung has it with the Galaxy S7 Edge, the Mi Note 2 has it, you have the Note 7 also, which had really minimal bezels at the sides. But what is really important is to minimize the bezels all around, and that is something that was initially introduced along with Sharp when they announced the Crystal lineup of devices. Now a thing to remember about the Crystal lineup was that it was initially limited just to Japan, and when they actually went international they first approached carriers in the US, and it wasn't really much of a success due to the fact that it wasn't really a high-end product, or maybe the marketing wasn't really that good. But now Xiaomi has introduced this new smartphone, which was initially shown to us as a concept smartphone. So most of them expected it to be something that we could see in a couple of years of time, where you would have a smartphone with such high screen to body ratio and incredibly looking screen. But at the end of it, we were actually dumbfounded when they announced that this is an actual smartphone that you can purchase, and it would be available starting from November 4th, and it's already up for pre-order in China. So that's a really interesting aspect, and it's actually designed by Philip Stark. And if you're like me, I really didn't know who this person was, but once they showed me his list of credentials, which includes designing a yacht for Steve Jobs himself, the perfectionist, I was sort of impressed, and when I saw the device itself, it looks really impressive. So the Mi Mix is not to be confused with the Mi Max, which also has a major similarity in terms of the display size, since it also has a 6.4-inch display. But because of the huge screen to body ratio, the Mi Mix is actually much smaller than most other smartphones, and even close to smartphones that have a 5.5 or 5.7-inch display. So how they achieve this is by reducing the bezels on all sides except the bottom. So at the bottom you have a small black bar which houses the front-facing camera. Now you might be thinking that having a front-facing camera at the bottom doesn't seem so natural, because it'll appear as if you're looking elsewhere, since you're looking at the screen and your eyes sort of seem in a different direction. But what you can do on the Mi Mix is actually turn it upside down and still look at the camera and take a selfie or a self-portrait, or even do a video conference call, and it'll look perfectly natural. Apart from that, the Mi Mix has an ultrasonic proximity sensor. So normal proximity sensors rely on light or the basic proximity, which you can see as small black bars. On most devices, especially in a black color, the proximity sensors actually disguise pretty well, but if it's any other color, you can actually see it pretty well. And even on black devices, you can see it if you look at it through certain angles. On the Mi Mix, you actually get an ultrasonic proximity sensor that works really intelligently and is hidden beneath the display, so it works really well. It also has a sort of bone conduction, or a sort of new technology that relies on transferring the sound. So there's no actual earpiece, but it relies on vibrating the metal frame itself of the smartphone in order to transfer the sound. So all these and much more really interesting features. But like the Sharp Crystal Aquos, it looks really good. I mean, you have a large bezel-less display, and the display is in fact rounded. If you look at the edges, the display is quite rounded, and it has a sort of different sort of resolution, since it has 2048 pixels by 1080 pixels, and that's because it has an aspect ratio of 17:9, and you also have the round edges on all four sides. But apart from that, this is still a really high-end phone, which the Sharp Crystal wasn't. The Crystal and Crystal 2 were more of mid-range smartphones that focuses a lot on the design itself. But the Mi Mix is in fact a really high-end smartphone. In fact, it packs all the internals of the Mi Note 2 that was announced. It has a Snapdragon 821 chipset that's powered at 2.35 GHz. You have 6 GB of RAM and up to 256 GB of storage. There's also a smaller variant with 4 GB of RAM and 128 GB of storage, and the term smaller or lesser variant is actually relative in this case. You get a 16 megapixel camera at the back, 5 megapixel camera at the front, you get a fingerprint scanner, you also get a massive 4400 mAh battery with Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0. So all in all, this is a really high-end device, and while some of the things such as the camera may not impress everyone, and it might fall short of cameras even on the Mi Note 2 and maybe smartphones such as the V20 or the S7, This is one of the most interesting devices and something that we didn't believe most other manufacturers could pull out of the box until maybe a few years later. So this was totally uncalled for. There were no leaks, no information, but this is a really interesting device. I have not seen it personally, but we have Varun who has seen it personally and he can't stop talking about it. It looks really good, and it actually helps you understand what you can expect from the future. Up until now, large screen devices have had a problem with the screen size. Most of them are too big because of the bezels itself. If you look at the Apple iPhone 7 Plus, the bezels are huge, and as a result, it is actually bigger than most smartphones with a bigger display. Now the Note 7, which also has an impressive screen to body ratio of around 78%, is really small, but when you look at this, 91.3% is unprecedented. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this device pretty soon, and this is a really interesting device. The only sad part about the Mi Mix as well as Mi Note 2 is the fact that both these devices would not be making its way to the Indian shows at any point of time. But luckily now they support all the LTE bands in India internationally, so what you could do is possibly import it from outside, and the pricing is not that high for a smartphone such as this. In fact, you can get the 4GB version with 128GB of internal storage for around Rs 35,000 and the other version with 6GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage for around Rs 40,000. Even if you calculate the customs duties, you still come out short compared to most of the smartphones that are available in the Indian market. So this smartphone also comes with 18-karat gold borders or chamfered edges for the camera as well as fingerprint sensor on the higher end variant, and you even get a really nice leather case. The casing itself is made of ceramic, the buttons are made of ceramic, and the frame is also made of ceramic, which means that this is highly durable in terms of scratch resistance, and it also has a really nice finish at the end of it. The only thing you might possibly be worried about is dropping the device and damaging it. But apart from that, this is a really neat concept and one that we look forward to trying in the near future. So let us know what you think about the device in the comment section below, and see you again in the next video.